we go with another episode of the Stella Culinary School podcast. Coming at you live from the home studio. I think I gotta do this. Oh, here we go. Ah, there I am. I feel like I do that every single time. What can I say? A little rusty, but hey, check it out. Looks like we got a good internet connection today. Some good speed. And I got the live call-in number up. 775-204-8389. A shout out to all my friends on YouTube. The channel is just growing and growing. Been a lot of fun to see. And all the people who are subscribed over Thanksgiving that don't understand that this show started as a podcast, they're a bit confused right now. They're like, what the hell is this? This isn't what I subscribe to.
Dad, you aren't ever going to be a celebrity chef.
Ah, but you guys know. You guys know. Stella Culinary. So how's everybody's Thanksgiving? I was on the road, doing a little bit of travel time, hanging out with the family. I think that's enough of this song. Making some, actually I didn't really make much of anything. Except for the, I did do my turkey and stuffing dumpling soup, which is my absolute favorite thing to do with leftovers. Day after. And I have a video of that online, stellaculinary.com. And if you check out the Facebook page, you can see it. And put a link, and I'll drop a link into our chat as well. Let me see if I can pick that up. But basically what you do, I mean, who doesn't like turkey soup after Thanksgiving? Who doesn't like using leftover stuffing? Right? So you just basically make the, you take the dumplings, or you take the stuffing, and you make dumplings with it. And it's really quite easy to do. The general rule of thumb is you just wet your leftover stuffing with a little bit of egg and then mix in some flour. Trying to pull this up here. And you mix in enough flour just to give it a little bit of stiffness. Make that dough a little stiff. And as you can see here in this video, it's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to play the whole thing and watch it, but I'll go ahead and drop a link in the super chat as well for this episode. But it's a really good approach because, again, who doesn't like dumplings? Chicken and dumpling soup, turkey and dumplings. Just mix it on up, mix in that flour. And I'm really just doing it to sight. Let's go ahead and drop it in the super chat. Paste that here. Come back over and take a switch. And well, so thanks again to my mom for tuning in live. Dad tuning in live. You know, you'd think that day after Thanksgiving, I'd have something a little bit more planned for you. And I really don't. I just figured, you know, fire everything up. See what's up with the Stella Culinary community. See if anybody's awakened from their turkey coma yet. And see if anyone has any questions or updates, comments. Tons and tons of people watch the spatchcocking turkey video that I have on YouTube. And they had quite a bit of success. Really popular video. I think it did something like 150,000 maybe views in the last week. Something crazy like that. I mean, you look at my YouTube analytics stats, and they shoot up to the sky, like it's like the classic hockey stick graph. So that was fun to see, and a lot of success stories writing in. A couple of people with some disasters. One guy was really angry at me because he, or she, who knows, was angry. Said, only do this method if you like raw undercooked turkey. Now, I don't know what spatchcocking has to do with raw undercooked turkey, but I guess this person doesn't own a thermometer and decided to undercook their turkey. It's a bummer. I don't understand that, though. I don't understand why people, if they see something's raw, why can't they just throw it in the oven for longer? I mean, how is that such a big disaster? In fact, I'd rather have something come out underdone and throw it back in than have it be dry. Motasem, man, that's I know I'm butchering your name, but what's up? Saying hi in the chat. How am I doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for tuning in live. Do you pickle with vinegar or salt and sugar ratio? Which is better? Well, it really depends. So if you're doing a quick pickle, like something you're going to serve that night or serve over a few days, you're going to be using usually vinegar that's seasoned with some salt and then a little bit of sugar to counterbalance the harsh bite of the vinegar. Now, if you're doing something where you're actually fermenting it, what you're going to be doing is normally salting it, and you can do either a saltwater brine or a dry salt. And what that does, it basically creates an environment where lactic acid bacteria can grow and ferment. And what happens is part of their life cycle and what they throw off during the fermentation process, a byproduct of their fermentation, is lactic acid and acetic acid. And so what that's going to do is going to drop the pH of the vegetables that you're fermenting, or whatever it is that you're fermenting, and act as a preservative just like vinegar will. So there's a couple of different approaches. If you're going to be going long, low, and slow, not long, low, slow, that doesn't make sense. But if you're going to be doing like a long fermentation on something, which can build up some nice complexity, then you normally would salt it and ferment. If you want a quick pickle, something that's going to be done relatively fast, you're just usually normally using vinegar and hitting it with some sugar, hitting it with some salt, just to counterbalance that acidic kick. So thanks for the question. Again, you can call in live, 775-204-8389. I really not that bad of a guy. Have a conversation, comment, question, share a story on Thanksgiving, share a disaster, share a success. It's all fair game. Just wanted to fire up the podcast and say hello. What is your opinion on sous vide for home cooking? This is coming in from Free Candy on the YouTube channel. I love it. If you haven't already, I have a podcast episode, 2 podcast episodes actually. One where I kind of fly solo and talk about the sous vide technique, and another one with Jason Logsden of the his website's escaping me right now, but he does a lot of sous vide cooking at home, and that's kind of what his website is centered around, is sort of modernist cooking at home. But to me, sous vide and immersion circulators is just, it's another technique. It's another way to control the cooking. And what's nice about it is it's great for execution. So, I mean, a great example of this is Thanksgiving, right? We just have the Thanksgiving holiday. You can cook your different parts of the turkey, whether it be the breast, the leg that you lot up. You can cook that ahead of time, keep it in the bag, chill it down. And then what I really love about it is the retherm process. So you can pick up or retherm your protein the day of. So, if I'm traveling down to grandma's house, I have my turkey roulade already cooked sous vide to perfect internal temperature. I have my turkey breast cooked sous vide already to a perfect temperature. I'm doing that like 2 days before. Rolling down to grandma's house, with an ice chest, the immersion circulator, maybe a tub to hold my water in. Fire that bad boy up, hold it right about 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 degrees Celsius, and I'm dropping in my turkey breast, dropping in my roulade into that bath to retherm about 30 minutes before I'm ready to serve. And the nice thing is because it's so controlled, and because you're at 140 degrees Fahrenheit, you're not going to overcook your turkey as you're retherming it. So if you miss that window, if it's taking people a little bit longer than you thought to come to the dinner table, then you simply hold it in the bath longer till you're ready to serve. Go ahead and pull it out, pat it dry, and give it a good sear before you slice it up and place it on the table. So that's the general approach. But what's nice about it as well is I mean, you look at just not wanting to really have area for error. So if you're having a group of people over and you want to do a prime rib roast, in fact, shout out to Chef Steps. They have a great prime rib roast recipe where they do it sous vide. And they do a really good job of explaining the whole process behind that. And what's nice, again, is the execution. You can season the prime rib a couple of days before. You can cook it sous vide, place it in the immersion circulator, bring it up to temperature, hit that perfect doneness that you want, whether it be rare, mid-rare, medium, and then finish it with a hot heat source. So a grill, wood fire oven, just a hot saute pan where you're searing it. And the one word of caution is just make sure that you allow that protein to rest first before you actually go in and sear it. Because if not, it's already at that perfect internal core temperature. So if you don't let it rest, it's going to just jump up in temp real quick. But as long as you let it rest and let it cool down, so you let that surface area cool, then you can sear it, slice it, and serve it. And again, because it's already ready to go and you have that window of time to operate within, your timing is a lot more forgiving, and you can concentrate on, doing your other sides, making sure everything's hot and finished. All right, so that's sous vide at home. I do have some, like I said, stellaculinary.com/SCS is where you'll find all of our Stella Culinary School podcast episodes. And there are 2 episodes on sous vide cooking. And I do some Q&A podcast episodes on them as well. Live overseas. Your videos taught me a lot. Would love to meet you one day. Load up my cooking, studying your videos. So again, thank you so much for the content. Thank you. I appreciate you watching the videos. Hi, Chef Jacob. Watching with my wife. What's up? Hunkered down, expecting 12 inches of snow. We love soups. I think he said sous vide. Thanks for getting us started. We use it for chicken. Awesome. Cool. And that's from Tim. So stay warm, Tim and wife. Thanks for watching, and thanks for hanging out with us today on the Stella Culinary School podcast live. Again, you can call in the show 775-204-8389. Jadon, how long would you recommend dry aging filet? Well, that depends. Really, you need a high fat content to dry age any meat, and then you also want to make sure you're dry aging the whole piece. So you can't just take a single filet mignon or a filet of beef that's cut into a 6 to 8 ounce portion and dry age it, even assuming that your humidity is correct and your temperature is correct and all the settings are correct for that. And the reason being is because what happens is you have this outer exterior form and dry out that you then have to go back and slice off. And so when you do that, you're going to be losing some of your yield. So doing that with individual steaks, your yield would be extremely low. And ideally, you want to do it with pieces that still have the bone attached. But I've dried aged some prime beef tenderloins quite a bit. In fact, we used to get it was a A11 Wagyu. So in Japan, if my memory serves me correct, the Kobe is A1 through 5, and then rating with 5 being the highest. And then in the States, it's A1 through 11. So anyways, we used to get a dry age A1 through or A11, which is really high fat marble content. and then we would dry age it for 90 days, and it would have a lot of exterior coating on it, that pellicle that would dry out, and we would slice that off. But then we would take that and we'd slice it up into a sashimi, and oh my goodness, was that good. Great umami flavor. So you're going to want something with a good amount of fat, a good amount of marbling, normally a prime cut of beef. And then also, too, make sure you research the environment in which you're aging it. You can sometimes get away with doing it in a walk-in refrigerator, but a lot of the times you're going to need to have your humidity set correctly. So do some research. It's more than we can really get into in this episode. All right, we got a live caller coming in. Hello, you're on the show.
Hello?
Yes, who's this?
Oh, this is Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks for calling. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I'm wondering, do you know how to cook dog in any way, like possible?
Cook dog?
Yeah.
Never done it before. What application are you looking at?
I don't know. I've been looking online and I've been hearing that it's actually pretty good for you. And I was asking.
Personally,
You
never.
always know what you're talking about.
What's that?
I mean, you know what you're talking about. Here, I've been listening to your podcast. I mean, you definitely know what you're talking about. Like, just cutting stuff. So.
All right. Well, there goes Jonathan. Don't know if he was serious or not about cooking dog. Personally, I've never done it. I know in some other countries it can be a thing. But, all right. Let's see. That's what happens when you don't have a phone screener. Wants to know how to cook dog. I don't know. Like any other people. I mean, I would assume that cooking dog is a lot like cooking cat or human. That'd be my guess. All right. See, dry age. Okay, Eric asks, hey, Jacob, with 2018 coming to a close, I know you aren't big into cookbooks, but anything come out this year that really caught your attention as a standout? That is a great question, Eric, and I wish I was more prepared for that. Okay, the cookbook that I really want right now is Joe Beef. They just came out with a second cookbook. And let's go ahead and pull up good old Amazon here. There's a lot of really great cookbooks out right now. And I think probably be best if I did something like this. Where I move that guy up there. Like that. And then bear with me here just for a second. Move this guy over. Okay. Amazon. Oops. And then it's the Joe Beef cookbook called Surviving the Apocalypse. Go ahead and throw up my screen here. This is the one that I'm really excited about. I just heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast, which was a fantastic episode. I would highly recommend listening to that if you haven't already. And they have just such a great passion overall for food and kind of march to the beat of their own drum. So I really like it. It really resonated with me. Let's see what else though is within the cookbook genre right now. What I just use cookbooks? I think so. Because I normally just search by authors, but let's see. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Bestsellers. Let's check out the bestsellers of 2018. It's probably not what I would buy. Yeah. Definitely not buying Clean Eating, The Happy Cookbook, Cooking for Two, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. I actually heard that's pretty good. Thug Kitchen, boo. Once Upon a Chef, boo. What the hell? Look at this shit. Oh, there's our buddy Kenji. The Food Lab is great. Wasn't released in 2018, but that's a fantastic book. Anything by this guy, whose name I'm going to butcher, but Ottolenghi, is fantastic. I have a couple of his books. I didn't know he was out with a new one. Where are my recommended books, though? Anyways, so now I'm kind of out of the loop on new cookbooks. Another really popular one that just came out that I recommend that one of my sous chefs has is called The Flavor Matrix, for some of you flavor nerds out there. So that's another good one. Anyone in the audience who wants to call in with their cookbook recommendation, 775-204-8389 can go ahead and give a call, or you can just drop it into the chat box. But yeah, I don't really know what I'm kind of, again, I was out of the loop for 2018 cookbooks. It just so happened I was too busy cooking. It's a busy year for me. Also, use it camping. We freeze meals, plug it in here, has a charge. Oh, that's Tim talking about using sous vide camping. Yeah, that's a great application. You know, you just plug it into a little car outlet or a little tiny generator. Get your water bath going. And also, too, something that's commonly overlooked by people when cooking sous vide is you can do all that stuff ahead of time, and you don't necessarily need to retherm it in a water bath. Now, it makes the retherming process or the reheating process more forgiving, but I mean, I've done plenty of times where I'll take like a whole pork loin, bone in, bone out, doesn't matter, cook it sous vide, and then I'll just bring it back on a hot grill after it's been chilled and sitting for a couple of days. So in the context of you going camping, you can easily go and take, a sous vide pork tenderloin, throw it over a fire and bring it back to temp. You just check that internal temperature with your probe thermometer. Once it's back to 135 or 140, wherever you want to eat it at, you're good to go. Let's see. IAB 214. New to sous vide. Any suggestions for recipes with marinated items? Would it make the flavor stronger? So yeah, when you're cooking sous vide, definitely it does make the flavor stronger. Also, because of the slow heat and extended heat holding, a lot of times what happens is you get a mushy exterior, which is not what you want. I've done that a couple of times with tri-tip, where I marinate my tri-tip like I normally would. Try cooking it in the bag with the marinade, and it just ends up kind of like mushy on the outside. So you want to be careful with your marinades and your marinade times, which is why, because marinades don't tend to penetrate fully, usually it's just the surface. What I will do instead, specifically when cooking sous vide, is if I feel the cut isn't going to be tender enough by the time by the end of the sous videing process, I'll do a brine, and normally I do my standard 5% brine with my baking soda. So it's a 5% salt to the weight of the water, 3% sugar, and 0.5% baking soda. The baking soda raises the pH of that solution, which helps to tenderize the meat, just like lowering the pH does with acid, but it's a little bit different. It gives the meat a different texture, different sort of fragrance. So I'll do that a lot. I do that with a tri-tip, and then I'll cook it sous vide, sear it, and then I'll glaze it. And the glaze kind of takes the place of the marinade, because now I'm attaching that sauciness, that flavor to the exterior of the meat. So that's my approach. But you do want to be careful with marinades, most definitely, when you're cooking sous vide. All right, what else we got here? Oops. Bring that to the forefront. Bing, bang, boom. Okay. Let's see. Jadon says, I recently bought a steak ager for about $280, and it claims to dry age meat, and the results look amazing. What would be the best cut of beef to dry age? Man, I'm a big ribeye fan. So if you get like a prime bone-in ribeye, and you don't have to buy the whole thing, obviously, get yourself like a 3 or 4 bone, and yeah, dry age that sucker, and then make sure you trim it up. And also, too, what you got to realize is when you dry age something, it'll get more tender in the 28 to 30 day range, but you're not really going to start to get some of those complex flavors until about day 45. And some people don't like it. I like it. I like funky stuff, right? You get these great umami flavors. I mean, blue cheese and Parmesan, and it gets kind of funky sometimes. Mushroom, earth, and it really enhances the meat, especially if it's a good, high quality piece of meat in the first place. But what I would do is I wouldn't go, for your first one, I would try and, talk to a butcher, find a decent cut that has good marbling. It doesn't have to be prime, but prime is the best thing to dry age. It's going to be more forgiving and give you the best results. And then take it to about the 35-day mark and see what you think, and then kind of start pushing the envelope from there. And if you decide that you really like those funky flavors, and as they develop, man, when you get like a good bone-in 60-day dry-aged prime ribeye steak, it's probably one of the most delicious steaks you could possibly ever want or ask for. All right, so let's see. Check out Greg Easter. I have all of his books. Very good technical. Okay, cool. Let's check out Greg Easter real quick. See what Greg's about. This is coming in from Trygive. At least that's how I say your name. Trygive. Let's see. Greg Easter. Let's see. We got cocktails. Go ahead and pull this bad boy up. Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond. So Mixology. Cooking in Russia, Volume 2. Vegetables for Carnivores. 40 Years and One Night Cooking in Russia. Cool. Thanks for the recommendation. I'll have to look more into it and check it out. Doesn't seem to have a ton of reviews on Amazon, but I mean, it's like Cooking in Russia. Oh, it's a YouTube channel. Oh, this must be a YouTube guy. Cool, I'll have to check him out. Thanks for the heads up on that. Oh yeah, Aviary Cocktail Book, says Eric. How's that, man? I love Aviary. I mean, so for those who don't know, Aviary is the cocktail. I mean, it's hard to call it a bar. Cocktail experience created by Grant Achatz of Alinea, and man, these guys are just killing it on so many levels. Check out their YouTube channel, the Aviary. But yeah, I could only imagine their book is crazy solid. Let's see here. Sunshine Jaybird, tell me some cuisines to try. I love experimenting in the kitchen. Well, Sunshine, are you talking about just cuisines to eat in general, or cuisines to try and cook? I mean, really, I love them all. I love them all. It's hard to pick a favorite, which is why I try to dabble everywhere. And it's funny that you mentioned that too, because Andrew Zimmern just kind of had this piece written about him in Eater that I really just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. This piece that this person wrote, and basically, I guess Andrew Zimmern is coming out with a. Let me see. I have it right here. Let's look at this. So it's why does Andrew Zimmern get to create the next P.F. Chang's is the title. And then written by Hillary Dixler Canavan on eater.com. So Lucky Cricket, Andrew Zimmern's first full-service restaurant project since becoming a television personality, opened yesterday in a mall in the Minneapolis suburbs, serving an expansive Chinese menu, a touch of Sichuan, Xi'an, and Hong Kong cuisine. Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to read the whole article, but basically, this lady or the author, Hillary, she was mad at Andrew for, I guess, for culturally misappropriating Chinese food. So I guess you have to be Chinese to open up a Chinese restaurant. And for me, it's like, well, why don't you just let the chips fall where they may, right? I mean, if the guy can't run a good Chinese restaurant and make good Chinese food, then don't give him your money. Let the market decide. But I mean, this is a guy that's traveled all over the world, studied lots of cuisines. It's kind of a really weird article. And as a chef myself, who loves all different cuisines and cultures and loves to dabble, I would hate to be silenced or be told that I can't cook something just because I'm not a part of the right ethnic group. It's really crazy. It's really weird. And especially since food is one of those things that brings people together. It's supposed to be a positive thing. You surround around the table and hang out and break bread. I don't know, just kind of a weird article to write. And so I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to get sidetracked. But your question made me think of that. Because it's like, tell me some cuisines to try and cook. And it's like, well, I mean, it would be so silly for you to say, well, where are you from? Because that's the only cuisine that you can really cook. Anyways, if you have any comments on that, 775-204-8389 is a live call-in show. If you call in after the live broadcast, you will hit my voicemail, and you can leave a voicemail there, and I will answer that voicemail on an upcoming episode of the Stella Culinary School podcast. My Vizsla says, ribeye all the way, yep. Tim asks, how's everything going at Pips Past? Saw the post on Instagram, and Eric, yes, you can ask another question. Pips Past is going great. It's been a lot of fun. In fact, if you haven't already, listen to the Stella Culinary School podcast, episode 57, episode right before this. I had on my sous chef, Sean Munshaw. Great guy, very, very talented chef. I can't say enough good things about him. It makes my life very, very easy. And so we were talking about Pips Pass and all the things we were doing there. So Pips Pass is basically our restaurant within a restaurant. And allows us to have a small little fine dining outlet for us to really just work out the ideas that we want to work out, kind of play with different objects, play with our creativity a bit. So that's what Pips Pass is, and we actually go into detail about it and some of the tastings that we've done in episode 57 of this podcast. So I'm not going to rehash it all here, but I appreciate the question. Here, let's see if we can find that video, though, because, let's see, that video was pretty cool, the little Pips Pass video that we posted on Facebook, Instagram. I'm sure I can pull it up somewhere. My feed just gets so crazy, though, with people tagging me in posts sometimes. I can't even find my own stuff. Let's see. And it's just a little 1 second video. Or not 1 second, 15 seconds. And while I'm pulling this up, if you guys want to call the show, 775-204-8389, or drop another question into the YouTube box, you can do so. I'd be more than happy to answer it. And you know what? No one's brought up Thanksgiving yet, which is kind of weird. I mean, how'd you guys do? I mean, supposedly you guys are all tuning in because you're cooks and stuff, right? So how did that go for you? Oh wait, let's see. How do I enlarge this? I really don't like the oh, you know what? I think I posted on. Oh, sometimes I'm so dumb. I posted on the Stella Culinary forum. See, that's why you gotta have your own hub, which is stellaculinary.com for me. right? Because I can just post everything there, and then when I want to find it, I don't have to go and search through all the YouTube crap. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick. All right. So, anyways, this is a video that our marketing company did for us at the for the launch of Pips Pass, which again, it's basically we have a chef's counter in a our 100-seat restaurant, and so just 2 nights a week we do the 8 seats of the chef's counter, do a multi-course tasting menu, kind of whatever we want to do, and have a lot of fun with it. And so that's basically Pips Pass, and then pip being, the small seed found in a fruit, or like an apple or orange, and then pass being the chef's pass. That's where you pass the plates to the front of the house to take to your diner. So they're basically at Pips Pass, and I go into more detail in episode 57 when we play an interview I did about it. But here's the video that you can find on the Stella Culinary School forum. Pretty nifty, eh? I liked it. I was really stoked when I saw that, especially since I didn't know that they were actually shooting video. I just thought they were coming in for a photo shoot to do it. So, that was cool, and we're looking forward to doing another video with them because Foundry, our marketing company, has been doing a really great job with this whole rollout. So call the show, 775-204-8389. Let's see. Jacob, can I ask another question? Do you know the correct way to use a wok? It's hard to achieve wok hay, crazy high temps, on a home stove. Maybe a video idea. Yeah. Eric, I have been planning on doing a wok cooking series for a long time. And in fact, I almost did it this summer. And really, you can kind of fake it at home on a stove. A couple issues you're going to run into, and then I'll kind of break down some other wok cooking options that you have. So if you have the money, the easiest thing to do, besides really spending a lot of money and installing like a legit wok burner in your house, which some people do have, is first and foremost make sure you have a good hood ventilation system. Because if you're getting the proper wok hay temperatures, you're going to be setting off your smoke alarms, unless you have like a really good exhaust fan above you in your kitchen. Second, a really good option is they actually sell concave induction wok burners that woks fit directly into, and induction can get you those really high temperatures. Not quite as high as like the jet burners that you see with the actual just 110,000 BTUs normally shooting out of those guys, but you can get close. Now, if you have a solid gas stove, I recommend for the home, I recommend the Joyce Chen, I believe. Let me double check. It's the Joyce Chen wok. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Let's see here. Ooh, what was that? My screen just went blank, but it looks like we're back up and running. Okay. Let me see here. If I can pull this up. And caller, I see you on the line. I'm just going to finish this thought real quick, then we'll go to the next caller. But let me show you the Joyce Chen wok burner. It's this guy here. So you can see this is the one. Actually, I bought this one originally. Something like that. The carbon steel, and it has the flat bottom, so it sits on the gas burner, and it does a good job. Now, the problem with this is this handle right here gets in the way of you flipping stuff. And it looks like this one right here, which wasn't an option when I bought before, doesn't get in the way, right? Because it's not bent up. So this one, I actually ended up taking off this inside handle and it works really well. And the carbon steel heats up really fast. The trick is when you're stir frying at home or doing these dishes at home, is to work in small batches. So what I'll normally do is I'll heat up the wok on a super high flame, and just do just enough products, like say my green beans or shallots or whatever, just to cover the bottom of the wok, and then toss, move it to a plate, wipe it clean, recharge the wok, and then start again with my other products until everything else is done, right? So your onions, your carrots, whatever other vegetables or meat that you're doing that needs to be stir-fried, I do them all separately, and I set them off on a plate so you getting that nice wok hay char on it. And then at the very end, I'll heat the wok for the final stir fry, throw in all the ingredients that have already been stir fried, and hit it with the sauce. Now, your other option, which actually works really well, is you do a Weber kettle, and you have the the Weber kettle grate. Nope, screen went blank again. There we go. There we go. So you do the Weber kettle grate. Let me see if I can pull up a picture. Oops. And you want this guy right here, where that centerpiece pops out. So it's the Weber 8835 Gourmet Barbecue System hinge cooking grates. And you have this center ring that pops out, and it fits a good carbon steel wok really, really nicely. And so what you do is you build a big coal fire underneath it, and then you put your wok right on top of that, and it charges the wok really well. And that's the only way to really get some true, stir fry temperatures. And this was the classic way that it was done back before you had gas burners. It was done over a wood stove or a charcoal stove that would get the wok extremely hot. So that's another option. All right, let's see here. Going to our caller. Hello, who's this? You're live on the show.
Hey, Chef, it's Chris Hall from Frankfort, Kentucky. How are you this evening?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing okay. Hey, I got a quick question. Well, maybe not quick. It's I'm having trouble with coming up with. Is there some theory of plating? Like I've got my techniques down. I can cook, kind of restaurant quality food. But when it comes to getting on a plate where it looks restaurant quality, I end up with just kind of a home cooked blob of this here and a blob of that there, and the protein up down the side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so plating is it's something that's commonly requested, and I need to. And here's what I'm gonna do. I've talked about this for a while, but I have a whiteboard. You guys can see it behind me. I'm gonna do a whiteboard video on the theory of plating, and I'm gonna be honest, it's gonna piss a lot of people off because they're gonna want to see me actually build really pretty plates, and I'll throw some of that stuff in there too. But really, you got to learn some compositional tricks, and there's a couple of things that we have going for us in a professional kitchen. So number one is having the right size and color plates. So how's your plate situation?
I have, maybe 10 different plates, but the couple things that I've sent to you over the past decade, you've always mentioned you need more space in there, and so I know that's something I need to do, a little more white space on the plate, but.
Yeah, so having negative space is one thing, right? So there's a couple. Yeah. We'll run through it real quick. So one is normally you're going to want to have a white plate. Now you look at a lot of the high-end fine dining restaurants, and they have different color plates. A lot of them are earth tones, and they look really nice. But so unless you're getting some cool pottery plates, Heath ceramics is one of them. But those are actually harder to plate on because of the color scale to them, right? So you have to be careful on what you put on these plates because they can zap the color out of your food. But if you know what you're doing and you have a good eye for it, it could be really, really good. So what you want to start with is just like a standard white plate and get yourself a couple of shapes and sizes. And some of the biggest mistakes that I see with home cooks is number one, it needs to be tight. and you need to have that negative space on the plate and try and work with odds instead of evens. So when you watch some of the videos where I'm doing like a restaurant style dish, I'm always plating in odd numbers if I can. So 1s, 3s, 5s. And if you look at that Pips Pass video that we did, in fact, let me see if I can just pull it up without it, blasting our eardrums. You can go back and reference this later. Let me see.
Okay.
But I do have a broader point here. Here we go. I got to go to the forums. So I'm going to go to this video. So I'm just scrolling. Okay, so what I'm looking at right here is a zoom in on our butternut squash panna cotta. And this is a plate that people really love, and it's beautiful, right? But all this is it's basically us taking ingredients that we know. Let me see if I can mute this. Damn. Is taking ingredients that we know go good with the butternut squash, right? So we have the panna cotta in what's called a hi-hat bowl. So you have a big, broad rim around the outside. Or actually, so this is by the plate's called FOH. It's by the FOH brand. And it's called a Monaco plate, but you also commonly refer to it as a hi-hat. And so what we do is we start by placing an odd number of dots. So we have the honey goat cheese, which is one garnish. So I'll put 2 on each side of the plate, kind of staggered, and 1 in the middle. So you have 5 dots going across. Then what that does is it creates natural negative space. So I'll go back in the spacing between the honey goat cheese dots, and I'll add in the caramel. And then I go back and I add in the seeds, and I'll go back and I'll add in the orange segments. And what this does is it creates this sort of organic yet tight line that draws your eye across the plate. And so if you do that, and I'll even scroll back to another one. Let's see.
Can you go back to the one that had the protein in it?
Yeah, so the squaw breast. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so here is the squaw breast, and this is real easy. So this was actually a play on Thanksgiving, right? And so what we have is just you can see on this plate the negative space that I have on here, and it's just a griddled piece of stuffing. I cooked it in a terrine mold and sliced it so that way I kept the stuffing nice and tight. Seared squaw breast, a little just spoonful of blackberry preserve right next to it, and the sauce just puddled right on top. And that puddling of the sauce, it kind of envelops the entire dish, but it's not all over the plate either. It's really just, it's tight, and you have that negative space, which is important because the more you fill up that plate, the more cluttered it's going to be. Does that make sense?
But it does. But so there in that one there where the sauce is running out, because in the previous explanation you were giving, you were saying it draws your eye across the plate. So by that sauce running out, are you getting the same effect there, do you think, where it kind of draws your eye across the plate?
No, not necessarily. Whereas, so with this one, it's a center plate presentation. So with a center plate presentation, you're trying to keep everything small and focused. And you're thinking, think of the plate almost as the frame of your painting. And there's some paintings that need a really large frame to kind of draw your eye in. There's other painting that you want more of a minimal frame. And so that's kind of the role that your plate is playing when you're plating the style of food. So if you work, try and work with odd numbers. Try and leave some negative space on your plate. Also, too, just something as simple as hitting the center of the plate when you're doing a center plate presentation is really important. And this is something that's commonly overlooked. I get professional cooks that come into my kitchen all the time, and I'm sending back plates because they're not dead center. They look like they're in the center to the cook. And if you take them to the guest, the guest isn't going to say, oh, well, that's a crappy looking plate because it's not centered. It's just not, you're going to have this intellectual knowledge of something looks off about this plate. It's not as pretty as it could be. And it's only the trained eye that knows that it's because it's the center of the plate. It's not really dead center. So being able to balance stuff. Also, equidistance as well. So like if I'm plating something on a rectangular plate, right? I'm gonna space everything from the edge to be an equal distance from each other. So if I'm plating like a 3 scallops across like a rectangle plate, right, the spacing between the scallops is going to be even. And it's also going to be even to the horizontal and vertical edges of that plate. So it's giving you a true balanced composition.
Okay. That's more information than I expected from you. Honestly, I'd love to see you do a video on that. That's I just think that a lot of home chefs probably have that same problem where they've got the technique down, they know the science behind what they're doing. The quality-wise, the ingredients with the finished product is spot on, but they go to throw on the plate and go, oh, I'm not sure what to do.
Right. So another tip too that I was just thinking about, because I was watching in the Stella Culinary Facebook group. There's a lot of people posting pictures and asking about plating. Mm-hmm. Home starches can make your plate look messy. So like for me, when I'm at home, I eat a lot of steamed rice. I eat a lot of roasted potatoes. Like just a normal person. But when you look at like higher end restaurants and like the really pretty plates, a lot of times they don't have your traditional starches on there, like your rices or your potatoes, because it's hard to plate and it gets messy. So if you just try this at home next time. Just take your steamed rice, if that's what you're serving, put it on it, in its own little side bowl. Maybe sprinkle some, chives on it or something green for a little bit of a garnish. But serve that on the side, and then try just putting your vegetables nice and tight underneath your protein right on top, and then a controlled amount of sauce on top, so it kind of pools together and leaves you that edge around the plate where there's negative space. And by removing that starch, by tightening up your presentation where you just have the vegetable, protein, and sauce, it's going to look 100 times cleaner.
All right. Jacob, thank you so much. I really appreciate what you do. It means a lot. I've learned so much from reading your website and following you over back when you were still freeculinarySchool.com. I really appreciate what you do.
Well, I recognize the name, Chris. I know you've been around for some time, so I appreciate you taking the time to call on the show. Thanks so much.
All right, but yeah, take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so if you would like to call the show, 775-204-8389. Got a line open. Let's check the chat box here. Jacob, is there any food you feel you would like to be better at if you could be a trainee for a day anywhere in the world? Where would you go? Oh, my goodness. Okay, so here's the great thing about being in the culinary profession is you're always learning. The moment you stop learning is the moment you realize that you should get out of the game. And there's just so much knowledge to take in. It's impossible to get it all ever in a lifetime. I mean, I could spend the next 10 years in any small region in the world studying their cuisine and have a pretty good understanding of it, but to truly master it would take a lifetime. And that's why I love those people that are specialists in one little tiny vein of cooking. Now the way my mind works is I couldn't ever commit just to one singular vein of cooking, like having the best ramen noodles on earth or having the best pulled pork on earth. But there's guys that do it that I really respect because of that. So as far as what I would want to learn, man, there's some really cool stuff going down in South America right now. I've always had an affinity for Asian cuisine. I mean, you could almost just throw a dart at the Asian region of the globe, and wherever it lands, I would be happy to spend a few months just diving deep. Vietnamese cuisine, China has an amazing food culture that's just beyond belief. I mean, all their sub-regions, it's so massive. I mean, if you ever really want to make your head spin, just start researching the food of China, and all the different regions they have and sub-regions within those regions. I mean, you think French food is crazy and complex, or Spanish food is crazy and complex. Man, some of this Chinese food is just out of this world, and there's so much to learn. So, and for me, because I was classically trained, I feel more comfortable with European techniques, and I've studied a lot of Asian cuisine just because that's where my interest lies, and so I'm getting more comfortable with that. But that's why I love Asian cuisine in general, is because it really kind of just gets you outside of your comfort zone, and you discover stuff that you never even would think of otherwise. All right, let's see what else is in the chat box here. Scrolling through. Call the show, 775-204-8389. Not a cook, just want to make my food taste better. I'm on a quest to go back to the basics and make everything from scratch. Well, the biggest thing that you're going to notice, as far as I'm concerned, when I taste anyone's food, really, that's kind of new to cooking, whether you're just breaking into the industry or you're a home cook, it's lack of salt and lack of acid. So, start seasoning stuff with salt more so than you would normally would. Start kind of balancing that salt with acid. Check out my flavor structure lecture and also the F-Step curriculum, where the first section is all about flavor structure, and start applying the balancing of flavors to your food. And you could take just a very simple salad, and based upon how you balance the salt and the acid, maybe a little bit of sweet, you're really going to take it to the next level. Don't forget that they want a rolled flat bottom wok if possible. Yep, I agree. See, when you smoke a 6-pound pork shoulder, when it gets to the stall stage, do you let it go in the smoker or finish in the oven in foil wrap? Normally, I'll let it go in the smoker, and it depends. What I've gotten to do as well is I like the peach paper, so it looks like basically like a brown butcher's paper that I'll roll the pork shoulder in, and it helps to bust through the stall because you're creating that steam, but also because it's semi-permeable. It doesn't trap in steam like tinfoil does, so it preserves the bark, which for me, I really like a good bark on my pulled pork, because when you go and you take that bark and you shred it up, you have like that really nice textural difference where you have the interior muscle that shreds and that's super moist, and then you have the exterior bark that has that chew and sometimes that crunch to it. So I try not to wrap my pork shoulder in foil because it degrades that bark. And you can always take the pork shoulder when it's done and roll it back around on the flame to give it some char. And look, let's be honest. There's not a single person out there that seriously barbecues that has not been in a full-on panic because you started a pork shoulder at like 7 a.m., and it's now 7 p.m., and everyone in the house is starving. They've been smelling it all day, and your pork shoulder is still stalled out at like 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're just ready to lose your freaking mind, right? I've been there, and in that case, yeah, you better believe I'm gonna wrap that sucker in some foil. I'm gonna blast it in my oven and push it through that stall because I got an angry wife and kid that's starving and that wants to eat, and I'm kind of hangry at that point too. And the thing is because you already put all that love and attention into that pork shoulder, it's still gonna taste great. I mean, you have that natural smoke flavor on there. You have that rub that you put on there. You're just not gonna get the bark. So is it ideal? No. But is it a culinary sin? Absolutely not. Let's see here. Stephen Y. What's up, Stephen? Stephen's another Stella Culinary OG. Let's see. He used to have one with like cups or something, right? I'm not sure what that's in reference to. So, all right, one final chance to call in the show. Again, 775-204-8389 before I sign off for the night. And I do appreciate everybody tuning in live and taking part in the YouTube chat. And I do plan on doing more of these. We started doing it at the beginning of last year, and I got sidetracked. I had some technical difficulties. It seems like most of that has been worked out of the system. A lot of it had to do with the limitation on the bandwidth I was able to get for my home studio. which now that bandwidth problem seems to be fixed. And look at this. I mean, we've been broadcasting for almost an hour, and it's been green the whole time. Green on the bandwidth for the live uplink. So, and it's so much fun to have people call on the show live and get to answer your questions live. A couple of things coming up. So right now, I've been really into desserts and gelatos lately. I've been reworking the whole dessert program for the hotel. And a big part of that is gelatos, just because that's been kind of my kick. So gelatos, ice cream, sorbets. So be looking for a podcast episode on desserts in general to come out. That's gonna be our series kind of pushing forward. Also, too, what I'm working on is doing a recipe creation course. So for those of you who are students of the F-Step curriculum and have read through it, but also you've just been hanging out on Stella Culinary for a while and listening to the podcast, watching the videos, you know I'm not really a big fan of recipes in general, in the sense I don't really like to teach with recipes. I like to teach with technique and flavor structure and execution. So the next step in that, you take the basics that you learn as far as flavor structure, technique, execution in the F-Step curriculum, and you start to really understand how to develop and scale your own recipes. And this is something that I do on a professional level on a daily basis. I have a really cool scaling sheet. I have a couple different scaling sheets that I use that you can basically plug in a test recipe, make some changes to it, and then it'll spit out whatever yield you want, which is great for a professional environment or a home environment, right? Because, in a professional environment, I'll have a test recipe that maybe we're making, 20 orders of a day, and then we have somebody who comes in the restaurant and says, man, I love that. I want that for my 300-person wedding. Well, how do you make sure you scale that, right? This sheet does that. And so that's kind of the next thing around the corner. We're going to start working on, like I said, the dessert series podcast. I'm probably going to bust out a quick episode on soups because it is the beginning of winter. So get the soups podcast out of the way, start talking about desserts, and then I'll be launching the recipe creation course probably at the beginning of next year, which is just, a month away at this point. I mean, Thanksgiving is done, Christmas right around the corner. Man, it's going to be coming up quick. All right. Thanks for the stream, Jacob. Very nice to be able to ask questions. Time for bed, 1 a.m. in Norway. Man. All right, well, good night. Good luck. Thanks to everybody for tuning into the show. A couple of quick plugs. StellaCulinary.com is where you can find this podcast and also all the other videos that I post. And you can also download this podcast anywhere that you find your podcast from. So Apple, iTunes, Google Play, all that good stuff. And we're going to try and do this on the rigs, right? This is fun. I love it. I love doing a live show. I love being able to answer your questions live. So thanks so much for tuning in. And that's it for this episode of the Stella Culinary School podcast. Thanks again for hanging out with us. 775-204-8389. That is our live call number, but it is also our voicemail number. So when I go off the air here in about 60 seconds, if you are listening to this on replay, you can call that number, leave me a voicemail, and I will play it and answer it on an upcoming episode of the Stella Culinary School podcast, which you can find online at stellaculinary.com. Shoot me an email, jacob@stellaculinary. Join our Facebook fan group, facebook.com/group/Stella Culinary, or you can head on over to the Stella Culinary forum where this conversation will continue. You can sign up for a free username and password for the Stella Culinary forum and make your comments, post your questions, create new forum topics and discussions. Thanks again for everybody who tuned in to this live broadcast. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and we will talk again very shortly.